There's something happening in the first 30 seconds of meeting you that you're completely unaware of. Manipulators can spot their next target instantly. Not because you're weak, not because you're naive, but because you're unconsciously broadcasting specific signals that might as well be a neon sign saying, "I'm available for exploitation." And the scariest part, you have no idea you're doing it. Here's what most people don't realize. These signals aren't part of your personality. They're learned behaviors. Patterns you picked up somewhere along the way that now operate on autopilot, which means they can be unlearned. But first, you need to see them. So in less than 10 minutes, I'm going to show you the 7 signals manipulators look for when they're scanning a room. You're sending these signals right now, in your daily interactions, and you don't even know it. Think about the last person who took advantage of you. I guarantee they spotted at least 3 of these signals before they ever made their move. Signal number 1. You apologize for existing. You say sorry when someone bumps into you. You apologize for asking questions. You say sorry before you disagree with someone. You even apologize for apologizing too much. Here's what happened last week. A woman at a coffee shop ordered her drink, and when the barista got it wrong, she said, "I'm so sorry, but I think this might be a latte instead of a cappuccino." She apologized for their mistake. This signals to manipulators that you believe you're inherently wrong, that your needs are less important than avoiding conflict. They hear this and think, this person will absorb blame to keep the peace. But here's where it gets interesting. The over-apologizing isn't really about politeness. It's about control. You're trying to control other people's reactions to you by preemptively taking responsibility for everything that might go wrong. So stop explaining. This next signal is so subtle it slipped right past our human psychological defense radar. Signal number 2. You pass the small favor test. Someone asks you to cover their shift, pick up their coffee, lend them $20. Small things. Reasonable requests. And you say yes without hesitation. But here's what you don't see. They're not asking because they need help. They're testing your boundaries, seeing how easily you bend, how quickly you prioritize their convenience over your own time. A manipulator will ask you to do something slightly inconvenient, then watch your response. Do you hesitate? Do you ask questions? Or do you immediately start rearranging your life to accommodate them? What this signals to manipulators. This person's time and energy are available to me whenever I want them. The small favor isn't the goal, it's the audition. Now that you pass the small favor test, this next signal makes you psychologically dependent. Signal number 3, you're a human mood ring. You walk into a room and immediately start reading the energy. Someone seems upset, so you adjust your tone. Someone appears stressed, so you become extra helpful. Someone looks annoyed, so you make yourself smaller. You think you're being considerate. But what you're actually doing is handing over control of your emotional state to everyone around you. I watched this happen at a dinner party. One person was having a bad day, and within minutes, someone else had completely shifted their personality to match what they thought would make that person feel better. Change their voice, their posture, even what they talked about. What this signals to manipulators? I can control this person's behavior by controlling my own mood. They learn that your emotional state is directly tied to theirs, which means they can manipulate your feelings by simply changing their own energy. This is why the same type of people keep showing up in your life. Signal number 4, you stay calm while being disrespected. Someone interrupts you mid-sentence and you just stop talking. Someone makes a joke at your expense and you laugh along. Someone dismisses your idea and you nod like you agree. You think you're being mature, taking the high road. But what you're actually doing is teaching people that disrespecting you has no consequences. Here's a specific example. You're in a meeting sharing an idea. Someone cuts you off and says, "That won't work," without even letting you finish. Instead of saying, "I wasn't done speaking," you just smile and say, "Oh, okay." What this signals to manipulators, I can treat this person poorly and they'll absorb it without pushing back. Your calm response isn't strength. It's giving them permission. So by being unbothered, you are giving manipulators the advantage. They know you will apologize for existing. You pass their small favor test. They know they can shift their mood to control you. And this next signal is how they know they can walk all over you. Signal number 5. You react in slow motion. Someone says something that crosses a line and you don't respond immediately. You process it. Think about it. Wonder if you're overreacting. By the time you decide to address it, the moment has passed. This delayed reaction time is like a flashing sign that says, I doubt my own perceptions. Picture this. Someone makes a comment that feels off. Your gut says something's wrong, but your brain starts analyzing. Maybe they didn't mean it that way. Maybe I'm being too sensitive. Maybe I should just let it go. By the time you've finished your internal debate, they've already moved on to the next thing. What this signals to manipulators: I can say things to this person and they won't trust their initial reaction enough to call me out in real time. They learn they have a buffer zone. Time to deflect or reframe before you gather the courage to respond. But here's what most people miss about this pattern. Signal number 6. You explain yourself into exhaustion. Someone questions your decision and you launch into a detailed justification. Someone seems confused by your boundary and you provide a comprehensive explanation of your reasoning. You think you're being helpful, clear, transparent, but what you're actually doing is negotiating your right to have preferences. Watch this happen. You tell someone you can't do something and they ask why. Instead of saying, because I don't want to, you give them a list of reasons. Your schedule, your commitments, your circumstances. As if your no isn't valid without their approval of your reasoning. What this signals to manipulators? This person believes they need permission to have boundaries. They learn that if they question your decisions long enough, you'll eventually talk yourself out of them. Signal number 7. You tolerate until you explode. You're patient, understanding, flexible. You absorb behavior that bothers you, make excuses for people, give them the benefit of the doubt. Until one day, you don't. You cut them off completely. Block their number. End the relationship without explanation. People call you dramatic, say you overreacted, that you should have communicated better. But here's what really happened. You were communicating the entire time, through your tolerance. You were teaching them exactly how much you would accept, and they kept pushing until they found your breaking point. What this signals to manipulators? This person has a high tolerance for poor treatment, and when they finally break, they'll blame themselves for not speaking up sooner. They learn they can push you far beyond what's reasonable because you'll absorb it all until you can't anymore. And when you finally snap, you'll feel guilty about it. Here's the thing about manipulators. They don't stay where it's difficult. They're not looking for a challenge. They're looking for efficiency. Someone who will make their life easier, not harder. Someone who will absorb their problems, manage their emotions, and ask for very little in return. These 7 signals tell them you're that person. But here's what changes everything: awareness. The moment you start recognizing these patterns in yourself, they lose their power. Not because you need to become aggressive or confrontational, but because conscious behavior is different from unconscious behavior. When you catch yourself over-apologizing, you can pause. When you notice yourself adjusting to someone else's mood, you can choose not to. When you feel the urge to explain your boundaries, you can simply restate them instead. The goal isn't to become someone else. It's to become conscious of who you already are. These patterns didn't develop randomly. They formed for a reason, probably earlier in your life than you realize. And understanding that reason is the first step to changing the pattern. But that's a conversation for another time. If this video opened your eyes to patterns you hadn't noticed before, watch my previous videos and share them with a friend. First, we revealed hidden signs of how manipulators target you, then how they use kindness to control you, and then how this changed you without you realizing it. It is crazy how normal this seems, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. Pragmatic Principles breaks down the psychological signals behind disrespect, influence, and power shifts in everyday interactions. Check back daily for new videos. Your engagement helps the channel grow to reach more people interested in understanding human behaviors. So like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. To support our explorative deep dives into human psychology and social dynamics, the Buy Me a Coffee link is below. See you in the next video.